Good morning. Welcome to the morning market briefing. Today is 6/12/2026. It is a Friday. It is SpaceX IPO day. It is 13 days till half Christmas, so get your shopping done, people. We're really running out of time before Santa needs to arrive. But let's get into it. TK, it's SpaceX Day. It's one of the greatest days in history, a lot of people are saying.
Happy
Biggest IPO.
SpaceX Day to those who celebrate.
I'm definitely going to be celebrating today. We haven't talked about it on the call, but my exposure to SpaceX, this is a wild story, but the boys follow an Instagram account that was a meme account that transferred into a small investment bank that offered, hey, if you want to get in on weird private equity deals that are generated by a meme account, sign up for this list. That led to Andrew and I investing a small amount into a peanut butter tequila company. Shout out Chica Cheetah. And then a few years ago, they offered to let the boys in on a little SpaceX. And we took that opportunity, and so today is the day. It's a very happy day, though those who are shareholders won't be able to really liquidate until the end of August for the first 20 to 30%. So huge day. But I think that it's worth noting, and this is something that is different about this IPO than other IPOs, and the fact that it's going to IPO at 177 or 1.77 trillion. The expected open right now is around $2.3 trillion in valuation. It's very unlike other IPOs because, Ben and I were looking at it in the office a couple of days ago when if you bought into Google or Facebook, then Facebook, now Meta, or a number of these companies at IPO, they didn't IPO at the levels that we're seeing here. Like if you look back at NVIDIA, I think NVIDIA IPO'd at $300 million market cap, and Google IPO'd at a $23 billion market cap back in, I think, 2004. And if you bought $1,000 then, you would have made an enormous amount of money through today. But they are right now valued just a little bit higher than SpaceX. So the money that's been made has been made. Almost all of the money, I think, at least in the foreseeable future on SpaceX, has been made. So I'd be very wary at buying in while they're, basically losing a little bit of money at a large scale. And the total addressable market of space, they claim is the size of the U.S. GDP, which is certainly possible, but it's a big unknown. I mean, the valuation on it is really hard to know because we don't know what they're actually capable of, whether or not they're going to be able to terraform the moon. So I think this thing's going to be really volatile. I think it's going to be volatile for the foreseeable future. And we're heading into a market where we're seeing an enormous amount of equity raising. I mean, just talking about Google, they're looking to raise $80 billion in new equity. That's almost 4 times the size of their IPO. You've got SpaceX basically doing roughly around the same amount today. Meta, Oracle, all these companies, super microcomputers, SMCI doing the same thing, which I think so should be named micro supercomputers. I think it's a better name. So there's going to be a lot of volatility because there's an enormous amount of new equity hitting the market. We talked about it yesterday. It's going to affect markets, and I would say, with caution, I would chase this thing. But I think that the odds that it is under its initial IPO price in the next 6 months is probably pretty high. And so trying to just race to your computer, your Robinhood account to buy it today is probably something I would avoid. TK, I don't know what your thoughts are. Are you going to try and buy some?
No, I'm not buying any. I would tend to agree. I think you might see a pop today, though.
Yeah.
You like buy options on it or something, but I'm sure the volatility is really expensive.
It's going to be nuts. There's a lot of ideas that it might not open that high at all. I mean, we'll see. It should start trading about noon, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm more interested, at least from my point of view, of where the flows are going. So, there's going to be a lot of supply to the market that's going to need to be taken from other stocks. I think it's also interesting to think about the current shareholders of SpaceX. A lot of them are employees. A lot of them are either going to, I'm wondering, are more going to go buy a bunch of yachts and new houses, or are they going to end up diversifying their portfolio into the other big S&P 500 holdings?
I mean, I would imagine they would. I know there's been a unionization of employees in terms of their negotiating power with some of the major investment banks, that in order to lower fees to the point where they're not going to get, whacked on, hey, if I move $100 million to you, I'm not going to pay the same fee because it's a they could all basically say, hey, we're going to all, as a block, go to Morgan Stanley and have our money managed, and we're going to pay half of what everybody else does because they're going to pick up so many assets. I mean, it's an interesting thing, man. There was a Bloomberg article yesterday that said that it was by the valuations of other space companies, of which there are very few, it's actually cheap. From the valuation of an AI company, it's very expensive. I don't know where this thing ultimately ends, but it's going to be an interesting day. It's going to be the only thing on TV all afternoon.
CNBC is going to have a field day.
Yeah, so I would say be cautious in chasing this thing. It's all the money's been made. These companies, they get so big before they IPO now that really the only people who make money are people who are able to get into it on private equity investments or that work there. I know one guy, shout out to Christian, he worked on the initial Starlink satellite array. He lives here in town, and from what I know, his initial grants were in the $12 billion range, which is nuts. So, he's only up 150x on the shares that he was given as an employee there. He no longer works at SpaceX, but he did for quite some time. So I don't know what he's going to be worth, but I would imagine he's going to be driving some sort of supercar around the neighborhood here sometime shortly. But, I mean, it's just crazy. We watched an interview on a podcast the other day with this guy, Tom Mueller, who was employee number one. They expect him to be worth over $150 billion. So that must feel pretty nice. It's got to be an unbelievable day for that guy. So just crazy. The next big thing we obviously have to talk about is there were reports yesterday afternoon, sent the markets flying up almost 2% on the S&P yesterday, that the U.S. and Iran have come to some sort of agreement on the ending the war. Iran has not formally signed off on it, but they're not denying that there's no deal. They're just saying that it hasn't been formally agreed to yet, but bonds are ripping, stocks are ripping, and we're up again today.
Stocks were absolutely ripping.
I mean, it was crazy. Everything suddenly flipped from kind of being, it was a pretty lackluster day until about, 2 o'clock, 2:05.
Well, we sold off in the morning a little bit. The funny thing is, so in the morning, we had the tweet about how we are going back and doing raids, and the stocks only went down maybe like 0.6%. And then on the second tweet where we're, ending the war for the 50th time, I mean, it was instantly up 1.5%. So I guess that's how you.
I mean, the 30-year
it
fell all the way to a 494, which is a massive move for the 30-year. I mean, we're talking almost a 1.5% probably overnight, depending on what your coupon is, which is nice. I mean, the boys have been hammering that for the last 6 months that this is a good opportunity, and suddenly, bang, overnight, not as good of an opportunity as it was. But from what our understanding of what the deal includes, there's going to be some exchange of the nuclear material. They're going to be establishing a monitoring mechanism, which is essentially to say that I think it's the IAEA, the IEAE. There's the
IAEA maybe.
Yeah, IEAE. But basically there's going to be the World Nuclear Monitoring Body is going to be able to do surprise visits. They're going to monitor the existing nuclear enrichment and basically, be putting Iran in a situation where they are subject to audits to make sure that they are not enriching nuclear material or working on nuclear weapons. There's 60 days to reach the agreement on the nuclear issues and complete lifting of sanctions, reaffirmation of Iran's commitment to not developing nuclear weapons, which we know they're going to renege on sometime in the next 10 years, opening the strait, lifting the blockade within 30 days. There's going to be some sort of money situation. So suspension of sanctions on oil and full Iranian access to the financial resources that we've basically frozen for them. U.S. and allies will fund reconstruction plans worth at least $300 billion. My guess would that would be kind of like the deal with Ukraine that we had with the rare earths, where we're going to, basically put the money into a pot that we will then use to spend on our companies to rebuild. So I think people are going to say, oh, Trump's giving $300 billion to Iran. It's probably more like they're going to spend $300 billion on us rebuilding Iran, which is probably going to be a net win given how these are typically structured. The release of $24 billion in Iranian assets, half of which will be made available before the nuclear talks begin. So they're going to get half of it back initially. and then a permanent cessation of hostilities on all fronts, including Lebanon, which will probably have to strong arm Israel into, and the U.S. withdrawal of forces from the area surrounding Iran. So that's what we kind of have as the framework. TK, what do you think? Is it going to stick? Is this just another?
Do I think it's going to stick? No, I do not think it's going to stick. But this is the full buffet that Iran wants. I mean, this is everything they would want in a deal for the most part. I mean, you've got unfreezing the assets. Did they say the blockade's going to remain in place for a while?
They've got 30 days to unwind it.
Okay, so no blockade afterwards. The nuclear's a bit of a soft. You got 60 days. I didn't see anything about where the dust narrative is kind of pivoted a little bit, so I don't think we're going in and getting the dust. I don't know.
We've got 60 days to figure that out, I suppose.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I think that, I mean, ultimately, this is not that dissimilar to the original 14-point plan, which was the first deal that was announced, released probably 45 days ago, 60 days ago. There was this 14-point deal, and it seems as things have gone, you know, initially that was considered great. Let's do this 14-point deal. We'll get it out. We'll get everything back to normal. Iran pushed back on it. Trump pushed back on it some more. There was an exchange of gunfire, and now we're basically back to where we started, which is this 14-point plan. So we'll see how it plays out. For the moment, futures are up. Bonds are off just a touch, but they had an unbelievable day yesterday, which is good for me. You know, as a buyer of bonds, it's nice that we were buying plenty of bonds in the morning that were nicely appreciated when bond prices reset this morning. The next big piece of news, Trump has declared a power emergency in the southeastern U.S. due to dangerous heat that's likely to stress power grids. It must be hot other places because it's been hot here the last 2 days, but I feel like it's only rained.
I think they're doing especially up north too, with the World Cup. I think I was reading something. The ones down south can actually have tops, but the ones outside up north that don't have covered stadiums, they're doing like water breaks and stuff. So I think that there's a heat wave going around.
They did that with the game yesterday, Mexico.
Yeah,
it was weird. They were having hydration breaks, which is, I mean, I'm sure it's so hot in Mexico in June. I would imagine.
Yeah,
in South Florida.
I mean, it was hot here yesterday too, so I can imagine.
How are you adapting to the heat as a Minnesotan? Does it get to 90 degrees there?
Oh yeah, it's probably, I would say 10. Like from the highest, it's maybe like 10 degrees colder there in the summer. It's really humid. But Utah is higher temperature than here, but the humidity's a lot lower.
Yeah.
So the sun's just more intense, but it's like 105, and it feels like 105 when it's like 90 here. So
yeah, man. I will say the UV index fell high yesterday. I went outside just to get some vitamin D on the dome, make sure I'm staying tan for the summer. As a strict no sunscreen guy, I don't want all that benzene in my system. You got to work on the base. So, but basically the emergency order is going to allow power plants to go to maximum output and exceed current air pollution limits. For those who know anything about the power grid, most of the power grid, at least in the Southeast, is coal or natural gas run. So there's going to be a little bit more in the emissions, which, the air quality in the summer here is not always great anyway. We used to get, I haven't talked about it in a couple of years because we have not had a drought, but for like all of the 2000s, we had the heat dome, which is essentially that there was a big ball of hot air and pollution settled over the Southeast, and that was pushing the rain around us for what felt like my entire high school career. I don't feel like it rained at all between the time I was 15 and 20. Lake Lanier dried up. There was concern about freshwater oysters down the Chattahoochee, Georgia, Florida, and whatnot for the amount of water coming through the Chattahoochee. It was a whole deal. And, of course, the Chattahoochee just turned completely into E. coli because we know it's not the cleanest river in the world. So we'll keep a monitor on that. But I think that probably bodes well for, NextEra, Duke, Southern Company, JEA, the Jacksonville Electric Authority.
And utilities have been getting killed recently, too. So
yeah, so I mean, they're going to be forced to raise rates. And, obviously there's a lot of worries about data centers. There's one apparently going in on Bells Ferry, which is just around the corner from here, that's being heavily protested. I've been told. I've not driven over there. So, because that stretch of Bells Ferry between here and Barrett Parkway. between Bear Parkways. Can get kind of grody. There's an overpass there full of homeless, so I don't go that way very often. I mean, the final piece is we really only got the earnings from Lennar. They're down 2%.
Had Adobe last night too.
Oh, Adobe, yeah. Talk to me about Adobe. This is one you cover.
Not my primary coverage, but horrible quarter from Adobe. They had kind of been driving margin these past couple quarters by continuing to raise their price, and to the shock to not many people, it doesn't work forever.
So we're
getting killed on margins. They were down 6% yesterday, and I think they're down 8% pre-market.
Oof, not great. We got Lennar.
CFO's leaving too.
What's leaving? Oh,
CFO's
yeah.
leaving.
I mean, he should. Adobe. I think Adobe is just going to be. We've taken old companies that were dead and dying, like Intel and IBM and Cisco, and they're having a renaissance. But it's a zero-sum game, and companies that are not benefiting from AI, Adobe has to be near the top of that list, certainly. And maybe they'll be relegated to that. Oh, that company used to be big and interesting, and then who knows? 10 years from now, something could happen that could be a catalyst for Adobe turning back into IBM. So,
maybe.
Or they could just go the way of the dodo bird and just be completely market corrected by Grok Imagine. But you did get Lennar, which is a home builder. I mean, no surprise here. They cut guidance for the year. They cited persistently elevated mortgage rates, constrained affordability, and cautious consumer sentiment exacerbated by political uncertainty. So they just threw the book at it. Anything that anybody would be concerned about, they said that's a problem for us, which for home builders it should be. High interest rates, falling home prices are a bad combination if you're building the houses, because if you have to borrow money to build the houses and then the value of the houses goes down simultaneously and you're on the hook for higher and higher leverage, that's a recipe for disaster. So let's get those interest rates cut. And let's get some. And the problem is we need to build more houses because that will also bring down housing prices and inflation. But if you can't build them because interest rates are too high, you got a problem.
That could maybe solve a little bit the job problem too.
Yes, definitely. So we'll wrap it up today. We've got a hard out today at 8:50. We've got a lot of things in the hopper. Ben at a meeting. Andrew's in California enjoying the sunshine. So we'll see you back here on Monday. I won't. I will be in Boston for a conference, but Ben and Andrew will be guiding you through the beginning of next week, and enjoy the day. Happy SpaceX Day. We'll see you next week.